Should be Roger Stone. Dan, feel free to use Seth, Blitz, chime in. Let me not so much on you.
I don't know anything about anything.
Hello.
Hello, Roger. Bubba.
Good morning.
How are you, buddy? I mean, I say that, genuinely. I'm worried about you.
Well, don't worry about me. I am feisty. I put my faith in the Lord. I know He will protect me. I think everybody in America can see that what's being done to me is wrong. And I am hopeful. I'm very hopeful. The more drastic and nasty the deep state players are to me in this effort to destroy me, the more the American people can see exactly what's going on.
Raj, I know that your health simply cannot take, 3-4 years in prison. I know that you've said on Instagram and Twitter and what have you that they're virtually being sentenced to death. I mean, you're 68 years old. You have some health issues, and I think that they were talking about Michael Cohen. I watched Tucker a few nights ago, and Tucker said in the day and age of porn star lawyers getting out and other people getting out, this seems to be the only guy that they're sending in. And that is when you're supposed to report to prison in 2 weeks. And a lot of people have been pardoned. And I know that you have a hashtag campaign going on right now. And I hope everybody participates. And that is hashtag pardon Roger Stone. Roger, and most people don't know, Roger, the good old boy cronyship / just straight burial job of your trial. People don't know about the juror that was on Facebook talking bad about you and President Trump and then deleted it and lied during voir dire. Dan, do you know about any of that?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I mean, look,
it's shameful.
I mean, if my trial had a theme song, it would be "I've been working on the railroad." It was surreal. First of all, the judge denied us the use of every powerful argument. So when we said, "Hey, wait a minute," Clapper, Comey, Brennan, Strzok, McCabe, these guys all lied. They weren't prosecuted. That's selective prosecution. No, she says, you can't argue that. I say, okay, but your indictment here says on page 1 through 3, the Russians hacked the DNC and gave the documents to Roger Stone, who gave them the Trump campaign. That's not true. We should be able to prove in court that that's not true. No, you're prohibited from proving that. It's immaterial. The whole thing was like something out of a Kafka novel. I know Kafka is very popular in your part of Florida, and it was surreal. It was a Soviet-style show trial. There was a jury that had not a single Republican, not a single military veteran from any service, had no African-American men. They're not exactly great believers in law enforcement. They had no blue-collar workers. There was nobody on the jury with less than a college education, but a majority of the jurors had post-college educations, and 4 out of the 7 were lawyers.
Oh,
how does that happen? That you get 4 jurors as a lawyer? They're almost always excluded.
And they all worked for previous Democratic administrations, not as civil servants, but as political appointees. So, I mean, I don't think I could have gotten a fair trial if I had had Clarence Darrow as my lawyer. I don't think Perry Mason could have gotten me off. My lawyers did not do a good job, in all honesty, because there was nothing that was put up on the stand. Steve Bannon lied at my trial. Rick Gates, oh, by the way, you may have read about him yesterday. He's just getting out of prison for home confinement just at the time I'm going in. He cut a deal for 45 days. He failed to pay taxes on millions of dollars of income, but he got 45 days in return for his testimony against me. Testimony with no corroboration. He said he overheard a conversation. in a limousine between Donald Trump and I. He admitted there were 2 Secret Service agents sitting in the car, but the government could produce neither one of them to corroborate what this guy said had happened. I denied it. The president denied it. But a jury of all Democrats, they believed him.
Now, Roger, do you think that you were the ultimate prize, and that's why? I mean, obviously they didn't care about Cohen. They're letting him out. I mean, you and Manafort or might have just been, I don't mean to associate you two, but do you think you guys were the big prizes that they just had to have? And that's what, a lot of what happened?
No, I actually think I was just collateral damage. The big prize was Donald Trump. The same people who took me down are the people who tried twice to take Donald Trump down. It was a setup from the beginning, just like the Russian collusion hoax and the Ukrainian Schiff show were hoaxes. This was a hoax. It was a setup to get me. And on July 24th of 2019, we found out why. That's the day they proposed to me, if you will just remember these phone calls you had with Donald Trump differently, we could make a deal. We could drop the charges against you if you'll testify against the president. And I told them to stick it where the sun don't shine.
Now, Raj, I'd like to get into what Tucker opened up his segment with, and that is the one juror. How really, at the end of the day, as screwed up as this all is, you don't want to be let out. You're like, I want a new trial. At the minimum, that's what I like to have is a new trial. And quite frankly, you're owed a new trial because of how bad Vordaer jury selection and people that actually were part of the jury, how they got through, one of which was a woman, if I got it right, Roger, who had posted all kinds of bad things about you and the president, had deleted those after the trial, and lied about all of that during Vordaer.
That's exactly right. On the actual day I was arrested, Bubba, you remember that day. I think we spoke that day.
Yep.
29 heavily armed FBI agents in SWAT gear show up at my house in 17 armored vehicles and 2 amphibious units on the canal out behind my house, helicopter overhead, K-9 unit of dogs barking. They bring this giant battering ram up to my front door like I'm not going to answer the door, scare the daylights out of my wife, who's deaf, and didn't know what was going on. Bubba, I've never even had a parking ticket. I have no prior criminal record. I don't have a gun in the house because you can't have both a gun and a medicinal marijuana card in Florida. My passport had expired. So for them, they said, we had to do this. You were a flight risk. A flight risk. Everybody in America knows what I look like, thanks to CNN.
What are you gonna jump on your cigarette boat? What are you gonna jump on your cigarette boat when they're out front and scamper away? I mean, what?
Well, 3 hours later, the government did not insist on any cash bond, which means they knew I wasn't a flight risk. It was all a show for CNN,
which were there, right?
Yeah, CNN was there, waiting for this all to happen.
The CNN camera crew arrived 15 minutes before the FBI. The street had already been sealed off, so that means the FBI let CNN set up their camera stand 25 feet from my front door so they could film the humiliation of my wife and I. They frog marched my wife out in the street in her nightgown and bare feet. Well, what kind of America is that? What did she do wrong?
Now, not to be confused with Roger, that's how it started. That's how this chain of events started. Talk about the juror that I alluded to just a minute ago and how bad this is.
So here's the story. The juror, who, by the way, outed herself, her name is Tamika Hart. She's the one who made her name public. On the day I was arrested, she attacked me on a Twitter feed that was a link to a Facebook post that she had written. Throughout the year, she attacked not only Donald Trump, calling him a Klansman, calling him a racist, so on and so on. In one post, she said, all Donald Trump supporters are racist. Well, Bubba, wouldn't that be me?
Yeah.
When we raised that, the judge said, well, how was Tamika Hart to know that Roger Stone was a supporter of Donald Trump?
I don't even know I don't even know how it got that far. I don't understand how you're even having that conversation that she even slipped through to be able to say that. Like for her to have already posted, the guy. Listen, Dan, if you go on social media and you are making a comment about a guy that you now have to be an unobjective, juror, you can't do that. You cannot objectively be a juror if you've done that. When a guy got arrested?
I agree, and the problem is that you're not allowed when you're doing jury selection to really dig into people's social media, and there's rules on that. You can only see what's been publicly posted on that day. You can't dig back to it was deleted or old stuff or new stuff. So it really puts people at a disadvantage for flushing out bias.
And not only that, but she had all of her at the time of the trial. And leading up to the trial, she had all of her settings on private. So we couldn't find them anyway. So the people say, well, Stone's lawyers had an obligation to find this stuff at the time, and they didn't raise it. Well, you couldn't raise it because you couldn't see it. She only unlocked it after I was convicted. And then she takes her Facebook page, which she's had since 2008, and she closes it and opens a new one. And her explanation on the stand was, well, I was just kind of tired of Facebook, and I thought I would give it a rest. Well, then why didn't you just put it on pause? You didn't have to take it down unless, of course, you were hiding something.
And so
she couldn't remember. She couldn't remember, of course, what it was she had posted. No, look, Alan Dershowitz, Judge Andrew Napolitano, Professor Jonathan Turley. These are some of the most eminent legal authorities in the country, left and right. They all agree I'm at a minimum entitled to a new trial.
Absolutely. Even if you don't get it thrown out, you absolutely 1,000% you deserve a new trial. Absolutely.
Unfortunately, the judge has ruled against that. I will not have a new trial, and therefore, if we're now down to 9 days from now, I have to present myself to the Federal Bureau of Prisons for incarceration.
Now, Roger, how does it's tough for me to ask a friend, but like, how does that format go? Like, have you been briefed on how that goes, so to speak?
Well, I have to learn a great deal more. The U.S. Marshals, the probation service people, the corrections people, they've all been extremely professional, extremely courteous. All of the courthouse personnel are really a fine group of civil servants doing a good job and just doing their job. They have not yet told me where I will be designated. I asked for Jacksonville, of course, but I don't know where I'm going to end up. It's hard to say. I'm close to the Miami facility. I do have, health issues. I had very, very bad asthma as a child, and it damages your lungs. So underlying respiratory problems are an issue, according to my doctor. It's weird because at a time that Attorney General Barr is instructing the Federal Bureau of Prisons to let nonviolent criminals go to home confinement, these people seem intent to destroy me. I can't tell you what's going to happen. Obviously, I have new lawyers, and the new lawyers are still weighing our options. We were very disappointed in our denial of our motion for a new trial. It was a very, very strong motion, but the judge denied it.
Now, Roger, is there a chance that you could get a pardon in 9 days? And how would and is that just pretty simple in the fact that President Trump just says, okay, I'm pardoning Roger, and is that how it goes?
Well, I worked for Donald Trump on and off for almost 40 years. Here's the one thing I can tell you. Nobody tells him what to do and what not to do. And I have not formally applied for a pardon because he already knows that he should consider one. He's already said that. We know he's thinking about it. He's already said he's thinking about it. He brought it up again the other night at one of the press briefings. I have enormous faith in his sense of fairness. The judge went crazy when he criticized her over her tactics in the trial, saying he was interfering with the judicial system. Hey, baby, read the First Amendment of the Constitution. He can say whatever he wants He's an American like everyone else.
Well, you were supposed to be able to say anything you wanted to, and she put a gag order on you during this trial, and I don't know that, I think that's kind of where the screw job happened when she did that. You couldn't even go out and tell your side of the story. Everybody is allowed, by whatever means, to tell their side of the story while they're being tried in public. Absolutely.
It's very, very rare that a defendant is publicly gagged. But, see, they didn't want me to expose the fact that the whole Russian collusion thing was a fraud. The Steele dossier was a fraud. The Democratic headquarters was never broken into and wiretapped by the Russians. That didn't happen. We could have proved that at trial. We had the forensic evidence, Bill Binney and other high-level NSA officials. We could have proved that. They didn't want that proved. Their whole storyline was already falling apart. The Trump Tower meeting with Donald Trump Jr. turns out to be nothing, turns out to be a setup. The Steele dossier turns out to be a fraud put together by Russian intelligence. There's only one more leg in this stool. Oh, the Russians hacked the DNC and gave the information to WikiLeaks. The problem with that, Bubba, is there is no proof of that. They have no proof of that. It's a theory based on CrowdStrike, some left-wing IT firm that they hired to conduct a cover-up. And they didn't want Roger Stone and his team of experts out there disproving that.
So now, Raj, have you thought, and I don't want this, I don't want, and nobody really does, and it's not what's best for you, but has any of your handlers or your lawyers, maybe said, well, maybe Donald Trump thinks this is too hot of an issue right now, and he would pardon Roger the day after he wins or the day after he loses, like the day after whatever result happens in November. Has that been discussed with you?
I've not discussed it with my lawyers, nor have I discussed it with anyone at the White House. I can tell you my own opinion. At this point, well over 750,000 people have signed petitions to the president telling him to stand up for his people. I honestly think that if he does not do the right thing, it actually could have the capacity of hurting him. People know that General Flynn has been wronged, a great American patriot. This poor guy got screwed worse than me. People know that I was prosecuted not because I was covering up something for the president, but because I wouldn't roll on him. On July 24th, 2019, the prosecutors came to my lawyers and they wanted to make a deal. If Stone would just say X, Y, and Z regarding these 36 phone conversations he had with candidate Trump, we would drop the charges against him. And I said, no dice. So the president knows all of that. I have absolute confidence in his ability to do the right thing. But no one tells Donald Trump what to do or what not to do. That's why he's such a great president.
I mean,
the only guy who's ever gotten elected president who doesn't owe anybody but the American people.
A little bit off topic, Roger. I want to go back to your stuff, but a little bit off topic. And I cringe even to ask this, but have you seen Tiger King?
I have not, and I want to categorically deny that the guy who does his hair does my hair. That is absolutely.
You've not seen it, boy, Raj. You'd like it. You would. I mean, Netflix did a good job. Much like I found out about you, through Netflix on Get Me Roger Stone. Now, Raj, are you in the middle of documenting all of this process that you potentially could go through in 9 days, so that you would have it for a documentary or something like that?
There is a major outfit out of California.
You there, Raj?
Did you lose me?
Yeah. Okay. Now I got you.
There's a major operation out of California that is making a documentary. They're quite well known, quite well heeled. They've been kind of filming this from the beginning. There is a European entity that is doing a documentary. And, of course, I'm writing another book because it's very hard to understand as an American that in the blink of an eye, and you know this, Bubba, you can lose everything.
Oh, I've lost it all. Roger, I've lost it all.
You lose your savings, you lose your car, you lose your insurance. You lose your right to speak. You lose your right to make a living. You lose your medical coverage. You got to scrounge for groceries and gasoline. That's where I am right now. I mean, we have lost everything because I would not make a deal. Could easily have made a deal, and then I'd be the toast of Rosie O'Donnell and Oprah, just like Michael Cohen. But that's not me. Sorry. So, I'm not suffering like, say, St. Paul suffered, but it has been the worst year of my life. I would have to say that,
Roger.
With the exception that I have a new great grandson, and that is a great thing.
Raj, is it 9 days? Is that what it is? 9 days from now?
9 days from now. So people who want to help me fight for some solution here legally, because the legal beagles are at it, can go to stonedefensefund.com, because I depleted all my legal defense money in the first trial. We left there broke. Those who want to sign a petition to the president can go to freerogerstone.com. People can help in those two ways. And if you feel like it, you can just sit down and write a letter to the president yourself in your own words. And every little bit helps. But more than anything else, Bubba, prayer. Prayer is what moves people. I had an opportunity to meet with and pray with Franklin Graham. And I must tell you that he is a truly great man. His father was a great man, but Reverend Graham is a great man in his own right, and he gave me solid advice. He basically said, put the thing in the hands of God. Throw your life to God. Give your heart to God, and he will protect you. You know, I always believed in God, but I was not a particularly religious guy. And I don't know, I might have had some wild times from time to time. But I really feel good about the fact that now I am solid with my Maker. I have put myself in his hands. I know that he will do the right thing, and therefore I really am optimistic that the president will do the right thing.
Roger Stone on the phone. Dan, go ahead.
What were you actually convicted of? Like, what did you actually do wrong? What's this big crime, this big whodunit that you've been thrown against the wall for?
Well, that's the cool part, you see. For 1 year, MSNBC, CNN, the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Daily Beast, they all predicted that I would be charged with treason, espionage, trafficking in stolen emails, cyber crimes, and so on. In the end, I was charged with lying to Congress about the Trump campaign's interest in the WikiLeaks disclosures. Not that I ever got them, not that I ever had a heads up on them, not that I ever had them in advance. I lied about the fact that the campaign was interested in them, which is absurd because Donald Trump announced that on 142 occasions in September and October, according to MSNBC. So there is no underlying crime for me to lie about. So what was my motive to lie about something that everybody already knew? This was all worked out between the pencil neck geek Adam Schiff and Robert Mueller. So they go into your computer and your cell phone and your text messages. They catalog your whole life, and then they design 5 questions that are highly technical, like, did you get an email from Bubba on March 2nd? And you say, gee, I don't know. And they say, well, you did. Here it is. You lied. That's it. We're charging you. It's that ridiculous. So in other words, the matters that I quote unquote lied about, none of them were secrets. It was all immaterial. So it really is a stretch, to say the least. But this prosecutor, Andrew Weissman, who was an epically corrupt individual, put together this contorted indictment against me. Remember, I was being investigated for what? Russian collusion. They couldn't find any. WikiLeaks collaboration. I never got anything from WikiLeaks. I never gave anything to WikiLeaks. I never got anything from WikiLeaks and passed it on to anyone, even though the CNN kept saying that was the fact over and over and over again. So most Americans either think I was convicted of Russian collusion, which I wasn't, and they don't understand how ridiculous these charges are. And as for the charge that I threatened a witness, that witness said on the stand that he didn't feel threatened. He wrote a letter
how's
to the
that?
judge that said he didn't feel threatened.
How is that if they say you threatened a guy, but the guy on the stand said I didn't feel threatened? Well, then how can you get a threatening deal? How can that be?
Because you have a jury of stone haters. That's why.
Raj,
because you have a jury box full of people who hate Donald
you got
Trump.
one person that's really said bad things about you when you got arrested, and then that same person's going to determine your freedom or not. I don't think that. I mean, I'm dumb, but Dan, I can figure that ain't right?
It all sounds just so sketchy.
Raj,
I mean, they just throw, they put you in a room filled with sticky paper, and then if something sticks, you're done.
Raj, I got one. And I hope it's not too long-winded because I know too long of a story, but however long it takes, wasn't there a part of your trial, and I could be completely just not have it right, where they said that you lied to an agent, where the agent really was undercover, not really who they portrayed themselves to be. So how can you lie to somebody that's not really who they are? Did I get it right, or did I mess that up?
I think you're confusing me with the Papadopoulos fiasco. But here's the interesting part: the same people who did him did me. So Aaron Zelinsky, the former counsel to Hillary Clinton at the State Department. You remember this whole thing just before I was being sentenced? The 4 quote-unquote career prosecutors resigned in protest because Stone was being given a cushy deal. None of them were career prosecutors. One guy was an Obama appointee to a political job at the White House. One guy was a Hillary Clinton appointee to a job at the State Department, and one of them was Hillary Clinton's personal lawyer. They were all political hacks. None of them were career prosecutors. You wouldn't know that from reading CNN.
Oh no, CNN made it sound like these guys have been there since Ronald Reagan.
Yeah,
true. It's true.
They wanted to give me 9 years. They don't give rapists and murderers 9 years. They wanted to give me 9 years. They just wanted to bury me. And in the end, Attorney General Bill Barr said that he thought my prosecution was righteous, and he was glad that I was convicted. But let me tell you something. I think his resignation would be righteous if he does not prosecute James Comey and Robert Mueller and James Brennan and James Clapper and McCabe and the rest of these people who tried to take down a president of the United States. We're waiting. It's been 3 years. It's just not that complicated. The people aren't that stupid. We're in an election year. Do your job, Mr. Barr. Do your job or resign.
Raj, do you think you get a call next Tuesday or Wednesday? Do you think you get that call, like deep down in your heart? Deep down in your heart, do you think you get that call?
Well, I'm praying for it. I'm not going to second guess the president of the United States.
I'm not saying that to do that. I'm just saying, do you think? I'm just giving you my gut opinion. I think you get that call, Raj. I'm not second guessing anybody. I just think you get that call. I hope you do.
Look, from your mouth to God's ear, but at this point, it's in God's hands. And I'm not, Bubba, I'm not in turmoil. My wife is obviously very, very upset. This has not been a fair proceeding. I don't think any Trump supporter can get a fair trial in the District of Columbia. It is, it's a very difficult, high pressure situation. But I think the Lord will provide. I do think He will protect me.
I have a difficult question I need to ask you.
Go ahead.
No,
you cannot have my suits while I'm in.
No. No. This is like, kind of old school Richard Fabrizi, Dan Diaco kind of deal. But I have a foundation, and I have a way to raise money, and I have a foundation that has some money in it now. And Raj, if you do have to go away, is there a way that I can get money to your wife or something on a month, to make sure she's okay?
Yes, that can be done. You'd have to work. There's a way to work that out with the lawyers so it's done properly. But because
I'd like to help you with that.
She's 71 years old. We have no other form of income. The books I've written will continue to make a little bit of money, but No, it's my greatest concern. Is she's got rheumatoid arthritis. She's in tough shape.
Raj,
beautiful lady, and she was there every single day for my trial.
Raj, I don't know how much I can come up with, but it can be something, and I promise you that I will make contact with you if indeed you're going. Like a week from now, we know I will make contact with you, Roger, and I'll put together something to make sure that we get something to your wife on a monthly deal to help her with expenses, because that's and it's difficult for me to ask that to you, Raj, but that's what friends and old school people do.
Well, that's very kind. Hopefully it will not be necessary. I would love to just get my life back and get back to working. I have a lot to say about this Chinese virus. The virus that came from China, that virus.
Yeah.
Because it sure smells like germ warfare to me, biological germ warfare to me. It's destroyed our economy. Donald Trump had built us the greatest economy in U.S. history. They said it couldn't be done, but he did it. And it was one, pandemic. They have destroyed all of that. They've hurt so many people. It's just outrageous. And I really believe that this is being done, or at least it is being exploited, for the purposes of giving us a mandatory vaccination. That's big, big money. And I am against mandatory vaccination.
Dan, you're the same way, aren't you, Dan?
Oh, yeah. I'm big opponent to that.
Raj?
And then some kind of tracking system. I don't care whether it's an armband or a bracelet or, God forbid, a microchip. It's a bad idea. It's un-American.
Raj, is there a way that I can come see you and visit you?
Sure. I mean,
After COVID.
if you want to come down here between now and the 29th, when I'm scheduled to be carted away, that'd be great. We might have a little trouble finding a place to eat. I might have to cook for us because we're
I'll bring. Hey, I know a guy who owns FastFreshSeafood.com, and I'll bring lobster tails and crab legs, and I'll bring it all. I'll bring the stuff, buddy. We'll just grill it out.
That sounds like a good idea, actually.
Well, listen, Raj.
And I'll certainly put you, and you will certainly be on the list of those who can visit. So, but it doesn't have to be this way. I hope not.
Hope not.
Go to freerogerstone.com, sign the petition. They have almost have 750,000 signatures now. And if you can help, go to stonedefensefund.com, because these lawyers are expensive and they are fighting to keep me out of the hooskow.
Raj, I'll be in touch, as the days wind down, getting updates, and I'm here for you, buddy. I really am. I mean that.
Let's fly down there,
right,
Bubba.
cool.
Let's fly down there. We just rent a plane, go down there, have lunch with them, talk to them for a couple hours, and skate back.
I love this guy.
Get some pictures. Could be fun.
Yeah. Raj, I'll be calling you later today, and I got your back, buddy, and I just hope that we get that call. You get that call, kiddo.
All right. Many thanks. Great to be with you as always.
Thank you, Roger.
Take care.
I want to make sure that everybody understands one thing, and that is, with regards to my foundation, I saw some people, chirping about it. I'm not going to take anything that my foundation has in it currently that's been raised for police officers or other things. I'll raise more money if I'm going to give a stipend off to Roger Stone's wife. It's my foundation. I can do what I want with it. And if I see fit to take care of Roger's wife, a friend of mine, to throw all the politicalness out of this, he's a friend of mine. And Jay, you'd be doing the same thing if I was going to jail. As a matter of fact,
absolutely.
When I thought I might be going to jail, we had this same conversation with your family, your entire family.
Yeah, we were sending checks to Heather.
Tom B.
That's beside the point, though.
Different reasons.
She's still getting them.
Stand with the dick. Hello. Can you hear me? Stand with the dick. Hello.
More of the Bubba Radio Network after this.